are set to preview the 2019 Gordonsville High School football season. I'm Tom Duggin for DTC Sports, along with Coach Scott Clemons of the Gordonsville Tigers. Coach, good to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here.
This time last year, we were talking about you getting started with your very first season as head coach of the Gordonsville Tigers. Here we are, year two. Talk about the differences maybe going into year one, how you're maybe handling year two just a little bit different than you did the first year.
Well, I've been here for 24 years, so it wasn't like us coming to a new place.
Right.
You know? But still, the responsibilities and the duties of being head coach is a lot different than being assistant coach. And, last year we made some mistakes, and we're trying to learn from those. And every year, no matter what you do, if you make a mistake and you try to correct it, you're going to get better at what you're doing. So hopefully we're going to be better as coaches this year and a better football team as a result of it.
How much does it help having a veteran staff that, like yourself, they've been around a long time? And I know it's different taking the head coaching job, but when you've got that group that's been together for so long, how much does that help you?
I am truly blessed for the people that work with me. My coaching staff has been here. They've all played here except for one, and he married a Gordonsville girl, so he might as well be here. And they understand what football means to this community, and they understand how important it is, and they work at it as hard as they can. And you surround yourself with good people, and you got a better chance to be successful. And I've got a great staff, and I love them to death.
Coach, let's get on the football field. You lost a good group of seniors last year, around 14, I think, but you got about 13 seniors or 13 starters coming back this year, around 10 seniors. But you're real heavy in experience in the offensive and defensive line. That unit looking really strong this year. Let's start there. Let's talk about all the kids coming back there and what your expectations are in the trenches this year.
Well, we've got 10 seniors, and those guys have all played football here for 4 years, and they've been in our weight program, and they're strong, and they're big, and we got out of those 10, 8 of them are offensive linemen.
Right.
So as an old line coach, that makes you feel good.
Right.
And I believe it, no matter what level you play, football is one up front on the offensive and defensive line side. So, our guys got a lot of experience last year. And last year was the first year some of them had played. Mm-hmm. Some of them had played for 2 years. So it's always exciting when you got some of those guys back. Things that we don't have to coach because we've already coached that, and they understand it at this point in time. So we ought to be better as a football team as a result of that. And I still think experience is one of the best teachers there is in the game. And they didn't do everything right last year, but they got better as the year went along, and they kept trying to improve. And as a result of that, I think we should be better up front this time.
You and I talked before going on the air how strength was going to be a big deal this year, that you've got some really strong kids on this team this year, and I know new weight room facilities, new locker room has helped that. Talk about the off-season program and how much stronger you feel your football team is coming into this season.
Well, we hired Coach Dillingham as our strength coach, and he also helps us with football, and he has been a huge asset to our football program. And he spent some time with some colleges, and he understands the training the whole body as opposed to just the old workouts like
right.
maybe that I was accustomed to. Yep. So as a result, our football team is stronger today. We're more flexible. I'd like to say we're faster, but we're not.
Right.
we're extremely slow, but it's part of it. Last year I seen a decrease in injuries as a result of the training that we was doing. So I'm excited to see. He's had 2 years with this senior group and done a good job with them, and they've bought into the weight program, and they work hard, and when you can do that, it's going to pay dividends.
Coach, let's talk about the skill positions. We know all the experience you have in the trenches coming back, and that's certainly exciting, but you are a little bit new in the skill positions this year. We'll start at quarterback, and I know in the spring you had a battle going on. You had a freshman coming in, a sophomore, Albritton the freshman, and Davis the sophomore. Talk about that battle and what you're looking at from the quarterback position going into the fall.
Well, last year when junior high was over, we brought Matthew up, and we have the luxury of doing that because our junior high and high school is in the same building.
Right.
So he ended up playing 4 or 5 games with us last year at the end of the season, and kind of learned terminology and got to know the kids. And coming out of spring practice, I would, he's going to be our quarterback.
Right.
And anytime you got a freshman playing anywhere, it's a concern, and we're still, trying to get him in the right direction. But he's doing some good things, and he's picking up on some reads, and he's got a good arm. So we feel like right now at this point in time, he's probably going to lead our football team onto the field. Trayson Davis played a little quarterback last year. He's going to play one of our receivers this year, so he can step in and play quarterback if we had to. But right now he's probably going to factor in at our ex-player.
Going back to Albritton for just a second, I know he had a phenomenal 8th grade year last year as the junior high team went undefeated. What do you maybe see as his ceiling here at Gordonsville? He's one of the most talked about, 8th graders coming up to a program around this area in quite some time. Talk about that young man, what you see as maybe his potential down the road by the time he gets to year 4.
Well, it's anytime a kid comes out of junior high and has had a good career there, and people are excited about the future for him. And I've been here long enough to know that don't always pan out,
right.
But sometimes it does. And he's got a lot of ability. We're still working on his footwork a little bit and his decision making. He understands sports.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids can step on a field and they see things that other kids don't. So I like that part about him. He's got to mature physically a little. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looks small out there right now. And those things will happen. If he stays in our weight program for 4 years, he ought to be, muscled up and look pretty good.
Yeah,
when he gets out of there.
Yeah. Coach, you lost the all-time leading rusher, Gordonsville High School, and Braxton Givens last year. Of course, a big part of this offense for the last 4 years. That's another spot you're going to be looking to fill this year. We'll talk about that in the receiving core in general. Who are you looking to step up into those positions this year?
Well, when you lose a kid like Braxton, and if you've watched Gordonsville football the last 4 years, you know who he is for sure.
Yep.
He's one of the most hard-nosed runners I've ever been a part of. And he's a special player. And you can't replace a guy like that. It's someone else's turn. And Jalen Brown is going to be a senior, and he's worked hard in the weight room to get to that point. And physically, his body looks good. And in the spring, we told him, "Hey, you got to stick it up in there and do what you got to do." And he had a good spring practice for us. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple freshmen that coming out of that 8th grade team that was really good, and they're going to push him for some playing time. And it's a tough position to say that Givens was a kid, you hand it to him 30 times a game and he got stronger as the game went on.
Right.
That don't happen often.
Right.
So you got to have multiple people there to play that position. So, we've got some good young backups, and you're talking about our skill kids. We got Skyson Washer out there, that forward receiver, and he'll run some jet. We'll motion him in the backfield some and get him the football. So it's not like the cupboard's bare. We just don't have a lot of them, at this point in time.
Let's get to the defensive side of the ball. We talked about the size up front. Let's talk about your linebacking core and secondaries. A lot of times those kids that play, especially in a 1A school on the offensive side of the ball, are going to transition to defense. Talk about what you see on that side of the ball, particularly when you look at that linebacking core and secondary.
Well, we graduated 2 seniors at linebacker last year, and Matthew Thompson was an all-state player for us, so he had a good year. It's going to be hard to replace people like that. Leighton Cripps has stepped in and played our mic and done really well, and didn't get to play this spring. We didn't get a chance to look at him because he's a baseball player, and they went on, and had a good season, so we missed out on him. But through the summer, and he played a little there last year, he played some defensive end for us, so he's a guy that he's going to be around the football, and that's what you want your linebackers to do. Grant Underwood's going to play our weak side backer, and he's a junior, and has put he's worked hard in the weight room to make himself look like a linebacker. So, we've got some good young backups coming, but that's another spot to put a freshman in. It's tough to do as a linebacker. There's a lot of contact.
Absolutely. Special teams is something that maybe used to not get talked about so much in high school, but I think we're seeing that more and more now. And you had a good kicker last year. Levi Halliburton's been around a while. And talk about your kicking game, your special teams, and how do you replace a kid like Halliburton, and who's going to step up in those roles?
Well, again, we've got a freshman. It seems like we got a bunch of those guys.
It seems like a lot of those for sure.
Came out here, and he's a soccer player, and Tanner Pearson's his name, and we wanted him to be a kicker, but he said he wanted to play some other spots too. And he's an athlete, he can run, and so we told him, we said, our kickers not only play there, but they do other things too.
Right.
So, and we've to this point we've been pleasantly surprised with his ability to kick it. I think he kicked a 42-yarder out here in practice the other day. So for a freshman to do that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a great leg and got a strong future ahead of him, and he's a great soccer player too.
Yeah. Coach, we'll talk about some expectations this year. I talked to some of your players. You know, Gordonsville picked, I know by the Murphy Fair publication, to win Region 4-1A. Players sometimes, I guess, they enjoy seeing that, but coaches, I think, sometimes would rather the target be on somebody else. Is that the case with you, and how do you see the region sizing up this year?
Listen, I tell these guys all the time, we play at Gordonsville. Expectations are here, and that's just how we do things.
Right.
You know, I can remember when I was playing preseason, we was #1 in the state. So, you know, it's just part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And tradition, when you have a traditional football program like we do, people are you're going to get those expectations. And I think our kids enjoy that. I think it's just part of being, putting that G on your helmet and doing what you're supposed to do and working hard and having a chance to be successful.
I want to talk about your non-conference schedule this year. You've got Watertown, as you play for several years, and Smith County, as you play every year, it seems. But you've added Coalfield this year, always a very, very good team in Class 1A. And Fayetteville, I think maybe they come off a bit of a tough year, but I think they got a lot of folks back. Usually they're a really good program. There's no cakewalks in the non-conference or non-region this year. Was that by design, and especially with a lot of freshmen on this team, to maybe get them seasoned for when the postseason rolls around?
Well, we know that every year we're gonna have to travel at some point in time to playoffs. So
right.
Sometimes those road trips, if you prepare yourself for them early, and I'm going back to Coach Wheels, he would always pick someone that we had to take at least an hour and a half road trip to get us ready for that if that ever happened in the playoffs. So, you know, Coalfield's got traditionally a great football program. Coach Henry does a great job up there. And when it come time to schedule, and we were looking and trying to find some people, I'd rather play good single-A programs as to go play a 4A or a 5. You know, it's hard on our kids
right.
size-wise to do that.
Yeah.
So I called him, and he was excited, and I think it's going to be a great atmosphere to be here week 5 or 6. I don't remember what week it is. So they'll bring a good crowd, and that's the way that's the way high school football should be. You need to get yourself ready to play the playoffs.
Yep.
And you can't do it if you're not playing good people.
Absolutely, and I tell you, a tough schedule for Gordonsville this year, and the Tigers, of course, you can see them throughout the season on Football Game Night on DTC Sports. We'll have Gordonsville against Watertown this year, Smith County. You'll see those non-region games against Coalfield and Fayetteville, and we'll also have the season finale at home against Monterey. So, Coach, a lot of games coming up, and hard to believe it's almost that time of year already here again.
Well, today actually kind of feels like a fall day.
It does.
It's a beautiful day, and you know, I was talking to a guy on the phone last night, and he said like 20-something days we'll be playing high school football, so it's here.
Yep.
You know? And I've tried to explain this to these kids, and they, you know, when you're 16, 17-year-old, a month seems like a year away, but when you get our age, it's like right around the corner.
About 3 days is what it feels like. Absolutely.
That's what it feels like, so.
Coach Scott Clemons, Gordonsville High School head coach. Coach, thank you for taking time to be with us today.
Yep.
All right, you're watching the Gordonsville High School football preview here on DTC Sports.